Has this ever happened to you where you know that you should be looking at your Google Analytics, so you open it up, you poke around for 30 seconds, you're immediately confused and overwhelmed by all the information here, you don't really understand what it means, so you just close the tab and say, I'll figure that out later. If that's you, I don't want you to feel guilty about that at all. Google Analytics was made for data analysts and teams. It's not built for small business owners trying to figure out what's working on their websites. And me, myself, as a data analyst, I don't actually use Google Analytics as my data visualization tool. I use it to collect the data, but then I plug it into dashboards because their visualization sucks. But if you want to be able to go into Google Analytics and confidently go to a couple reports that are going to give you some really actionable insights for your business and for your marketing, I'm going to walk you through 4 of those reports today. And honestly, most business owners don't even get this far. So if you get to the point that you're looking at these 4 reports on a somewhat regular basis, maybe that's monthly or quarterly, you are already leagues ahead of the majority of small business owners out there. If we haven't met before, I'm Allie. I'm a data-backed marketing strategist, and I've spent the last over a decade helping small business owners figure out what's actually working in their marketing from their data. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which 4 Google Analytics reports to look at on a ideally monthly basis for your business so that you can make sure that your website and your marketing are actually providing results and bringing in traffic, leads, and sales. And of course, if you want more data-backed marketing tips, hit subscribe. I post new videos regularly. Okay, let's dive right in. Before we can actually look at your data, the first question that you need to ask yourself is Google Analytics actually configured correctly and on all of my pages? Now, the is it configured correctly is a bit of a Pandora's box situation. If you're interested, I've got a Google Analytics self-audit that I'll link to right here that looks at multiple aspects of your Google Analytics setup and make sure that it's all set up properly. But assuming that it is, the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to go into your Google Analytics account, into reports, then we're going to go into engagement and pages and screens. Now, sometimes your sidebar is going to look a little bit different here. If yours looks different and you can't find the pages and screens report, you can always use the search bar and type for pages, and it should be able to bring up your pages and screen report here. And if you scroll down to look at the table, the first question that we're asking is my Google Analytics showing up across all of my web pages? It's only going to by default show the top 10. So if you come over here to rows per page, and I usually change that to 250, the biggest one, now I can look and see all of the pages, and it's going to sort them by the pages that have the most views. The first thing to look for here is, are you seeing data for all of your web pages? And that includes any checkouts, landing pages that may be in other platforms. So if your main website is on a Squarespace, a WordPress, a Showit, whatever, you should see those pages here. And typically you set up Google Analytics globally across the site, so all of the pages that are getting traffic will show up. Great. But where lots of people make a mistake is they then either have a different Google Analytics property for their checkouts or for their landing pages, or in their checkouts, it needs to be added on each individual checkout and they forget to do that. And then your data is fragmented and you don't actually have it everywhere. So look in here for the URL of all of your pages. If the domains are different, you can use this blue plus symbol right here and type in host to find host name, and then it's going to add an additional column here that pulls in the domain. This is Google's demo site. I know in my analytics, because I have my website on a WordPress site and my checkouts are on a Thrivecart checkout, so they have different domains, that for me, it'll say akaridigital.ca as the host name for my WordPress pages. And then it'll say akaridigital.thrivecart.com in the host name for my Thrivecart pages. So the thing that I'm looking at here is it showing across all of the pages and all of the checkouts that I want it to be? If not, that is a first to-do that you should add to your list to make sure the Google Analytics is everywhere. Now, assuming that all of your pages are here, what should you actually be looking at on this report? So your pages and screens report is going to tell you which pages are getting traffic, and you can look and see if you do have events or conversions set up, which specific events are happening on those pages. So big things to look at here is, are the most important pages on your site actually getting views? Those are typically your product pages or your services pages or your sales pages. look and see which pages are actually getting traffic. And for those who have blogs, often what we end up seeing is some old blog posts from multiple years ago have a ton of traffic that we're not even paying attention to. And if those blogs and the topics are still relevant, that might be worth it to go and check out those blogs and see, do they have the most updated call to actions on them? Is there a new freebie that you should link to from that blog post because it's getting traffic, but it has a freebie from 3 years ago that you no longer promote anywhere else? This can be a great place to look and see which pages are actually getting traffic and which ones aren't, and making sure that the highly trafficked pages are up to date. On the other hand, this can also be a place to look and see if the products or the services that you're promoting, those sales pages or product pages, are not getting any traffic. They're not getting viewed. If you have a bunch of people on the homepage, but nobody's getting to your sales page, and that's the journey that you're expecting them to take, look at that homepage and see what changes can I make to that page to hopefully improve that. The next report that we're going to go and look at is your landing pages report. And if you found pages and screens in the menu, it should be right below it. If not, again, you can use the search bar to navigate there. Now, this page looks very similar and functions similar to the pages report, but it answers a very different question. This instead is going to look at how are people entering your site. And I want you to look at your most trafficked entrance pages and ask yourself, are these pages set up to direct people to where I want them to go? If it's like a homepage or like a link in bio kind of page, are those functioned in a way that they're actually sending traffic to the right places? Or if they are landing directly on your landing pages, your sales pages where you expect them to convert, look at the key events, assuming that you've set up key events in your account, and you can see, okay, what percent of the people that are landing on this page actually end up converting, whether that's an add to cart or a purchase, and see if some of your entrance pages do a much better job at getting people to become leads or to buy. The next report that we're going to go look at is your events report. This one here is just to get a pulse check of which events are you actually tracking. And again, this may flag for you that you're not actually tracking all of the things in your Google Analytics that you need to be. If that's you, I've got a product called Tracking Sorted that holds your hand through setting up conversion tracking as well as all of the backend settings of your Google Analytics with a tool called Google Tag Manager, which is a more advanced way to track your conversions. And I've set you up with a whole bunch of templates inside of it. So you can say, I use ConvertKit to get people to sign up for my email list, and I use ThriveCart checkouts, and I've got a quiz on Interact, and it gives you ready-built templates that you just upload into your Google Tag Manager, and then you can complete an advanced setup, honestly better than what most agencies will charge thousands for, and you can complete it on your own, and I show you how to test it and troubleshoot it so you know exactly how it's working and you have that insight going into your analysis. So the big questions to ask yourself when you're looking at this report here is, one, are you tracking all of the important things that you want to be tracking? And again, remember, it's going to default to only showing you 10, so you can expand the rows if you do have more than 10 events coming through. And the second thing that I want you to check is, do the event count numbers line up with your real data within like a 90% accuracy? Look at the date range. So it's going to default to the last 28 days. And if it says that you've got like generate lead or a form submit, and those are your newsletter forms, if it says that you've got 100 subscribers in the last 28 days, look into your email platform and see how many new subscribers or how many people filling out these forms does it say that you had. If the numbers are vastly different, you may not be tracking things accurately, and bad data is worse than no data. I don't want you trying to make decisions on incorrect data in your Google Analytics. So come in here, check what you're tracking, check what you're not, and make sure that the numbers actually line up with the real numbers in your business. And now the last report that I want you to look at, and this is usually the one that people are most excited about, is we're going to go into acquisition and traffic acquisition. And as always, if it doesn't show up here in your sidebar, search for traffic acquisition up in the search bar. This is telling you where traffic came from when it arrived on your website. So this is how you can start to know, is Instagram actually sending me traffic? And then we can also look and see if you have events set up, are they converting into leads or sales? Same goes for any other platform, email, podcast, whatever. Google Analytics by default will categorize your traffic based on the data that it has. But one thing that many of you may see is that you have a lot of direct traffic. So we can see in this account here, direct traffic takes up 65% of their traffic. Direct traffic is essentially Google saying, we have no idea where this came from. If somebody has bookmarked your site, or if your clients or students bookmark your site and they go there via a bookmark, that's going to come through as direct traffic. If somebody types your URL into their search bar, that's going to come through as direct traffic. So some level of direct traffic is completely normal, but I highly doubt that 65% of the traffic coming to this site typed in the URL or bookmarked it. So often, when we have a lot of direct traffic, it's not actually that this traffic is directly coming to our site. It's that they're coming from a platform that hasn't been tagged properly. And so as businesses that are marketing, we need to do some tagging of our links in specific channels that don't get automatically tagged in order to make sure that Google Analytics actually has all the information that it needs. We do that with UTM tags, which I'll have a whole separate video that goes into UTMs and how to use them. But what we're essentially doing is for these platforms that are not often tagged correctly, things like email, podcasts, some social media platforms don't do a great job. If you have QR codes, whether those are on posters, signage, speaking presentations, product packaging, or sometimes even text messaging campaigns, lots of those things don't get automatically tagged. And so you need to do a step when you are scheduling or sending that content so that Google Analytics knows where that comes from and it can show that here in this report. So look at the list of the different channels that it is providing you here and ask yourself, one, do you have a lot of direct traffic? If you do, you very likely have a bit of an attribution problem. Two, of all of the places that you post content, do you see a listing for those here? So one that often won't show up if you're not tagging them is email. If you send email newsletters, do you see traffic from email coming here? And do the sessions closely align with what you would anticipate your clicks being? If you know that you get hundreds of people clicking links from emails in your newsletters every single week, but you've got 30 clicks from email here, there's clearly a misalignment there. On the other hand, if you run meta ads but you're not seeing a paid social here, that likely means that all of your meta ads traffic is coming through as organic social instead of paid social. I don't know about you, but I want to be able to separate these are the clicks that I paid for versus these are the clicks that I earned with my organic content. So look and see in the list if all of the traffic sources that you are using actually show up. If they don't, you likely need to look into a better UTM strategy, which again, there'll be a link to my UTM video in the description below if you want to go dig a little bit deeper into that. Assuming that all of your data is correct here and you have all of your traffic, what you can look at is seeing, okay, of my organic search, this is my SEO, how many people came from this channel? And then again, assuming that you have events set up, you can look and see how many of them are becoming purchasers or are becoming leads or whatever important conversion it is for you. So you can start to not only see how much traffic is coming from each of the platforms that you're using, but also which ones are driving those conversions. And then if you're at the point that you're posting content on too many channels or you're juggling too many balls in your marketing, it becomes way clearer of which ones are safe to drop for a period of time or permanently because they're not actually bringing in the traffic, leads, and sales that you expect them to. And sometimes it can be really surprising that the blog post that you wrote 3 years ago or the content that you posted on Pinterest or YouTube 3 years ago is actually still bringing in traffic, leads, and sales, whereas all the work that you're putting every month into Instagram or something else might not be bringing in the results that you thought it was. So those are the 4 reports that I recommend if you are going to use Google Analytics' data visualization reporting. So that's the pages and screens, that's landing pages, that's events, and that's traffic acquisition. Now, in the beginning, I did say that I actually never go into Google Analytics myself as a data analyst, and I instead have Google Analytics data connected into dashboards, and I wanted to give you a really quick preview of what that can look like. So I use a dashboard tool called Data Studio, which is a Google product. So it's a free dashboarding tool that is super easy to connect into any Google products like Google Analytics, Google Ads, YouTube, etc. And I set up dashboards, and these are the dashboards that are included inside my program, Data Backed Entrepreneur. So instead of going into Google Analytics and looking at pages and screens and seeing which pages get the most traffic, I have a dashboard that looks like this that has all of that data and just simplifies this, where we still have what pages did they visit, but then I've simplified it so we're just looking at the total number of unique people that saw the page and the specific events that matter to you. So in this sample data, we're just pulling in CTA clicks, but this might be add to carts or form submissions or whatever we care most about on those pages. I also like that I can build in more month-over-month analysis, so I don't need to pull this every single month at a glance. I can look and see, oh, traffic has been going down or traffic has been going up or whatever that looks like. I also like that I can really easily filter and separate out my regular site traffic from blog traffic, because especially for businesses that have really beefy blogs, it's really important to look at those separately because they serve very different purposes in your business and in your marketing. When it comes to understanding your traffic sources, and especially if you know a little bit about UTMs or you start using UTMs, you may know that within a UTM, we don't just look at the overall, this came from organic search or paid social or SEO or whatever. We'll look at, this came from a paid social link that went to this specific landing page that was in this campaign, and it was ad 1 versus ad 2. And in here, we're able to filter down to a specific platform, or filter down to a specific channel, say organic social. And then I can look and see which specific channels. Was it Instagram, Threads, or Facebook, or whatever? And my favorite part of these dashboards is we have way more flexibility to build out some more robust charts like this, where I can see how well my site is converting on different goals. So I have this set up here to look at how well is my site converting leads versus how well my site is converting sales or inquiries or whatever your main goal of your site is. Getting this level of visualization in Google Analytics, I would need to go and pull each of these numbers separately and then calculate each of these manually. It would take me probably 20, 30 minutes, and I know exactly where to look for all these things, versus I just loaded this page, it has everything here, and I can go down and say, how does this change if I only look at SEO? Or how does this change if I only look at paid ads? Or whatever that may be. All of this data is so much quicker and easier to grab in a dashboard tool like this. And the other thing that I love about this dashboard is that I can filter down and see in one view how a particular page is performing. So I can look down at my homepage, for instance, and I can see how far are people scrolling, how long did they stay, what CTAs are they clicking, if there were forms on here, which ones are they seeing and filling out. And I can get all of this in one view versus, again, for me to pull all of this manually out of Google Analytics, it would have taken me at least 30 minutes, and I have it in 2 seconds. And I can compare before and after I updated a page, or I can look at a launch period or a sale period and get the data and the information that I need to actually make strategic decisions of, I need to change this part of my homepage because I can see people are not scrolling past it. And then after I made that change, I can see that 20% more people are now clicking to the checkout or clicking to my sales page or whatever I'd want them to do. I know going from Google Analytics into something like a dashboard does feel like a big step, but this is where data stops being something that makes you want to pull your hair out, and you can actually start using your data to make smart, strategic, informed decisions for your business. So no matter where you are at in your Google Analytics and data journey, your next steps will probably be one of these 3 things. First, it might be that you've noticed that you have some gaps or some errors in your Google Analytics setup. your next step would be to set up Google Analytics properly. And my Tracking Sorted mini course is a great step that will help you do exactly that in just an afternoon with plug and play templates for all the different software tech tools that are out there. And if you went through this and your data looks to be tracking and it's accurate, fantastic. Your next step is then to look at the data in Google Analytics and make some smart strategic decisions on what you want to tweak, change, add in order to get your website converting better or performing better. And if you need any support doing that, or if you want to set up some dashboards to make that whole process way easier, the best place to start is my Data-Backed Entrepreneur program, where you get my support and my coaching. We'll also set up more robust tracking systems, not just across your website, but across all areas of your marketing and sales. And you'll get me in your back pocket as you're analyzing, implementing, and making data-backed decisions. I'm so excited for you on your data-backed journey. I will see you in the next video.